let you in. That's what happens when you leave your doors unlocked, folks. Well, you're here, you might as well come on in. Let's take a look at where I spend 90% of my time in the sewing room. Let's talk tools a little bit, and I'd like to address the iron. I love my Laura Star iron. Those of you who've watched the videos know how much I love it, but I also like a smaller iron, and one of my favorites on the market today is the little Panasonic cordless, and I use it a lot for just my initial pressing and smoothing things. I pull the big girl into play when I'm doing my final presses or got a lot of work I need to do on borders, bindings, or a finished quilt. But if you have the luxury to own both of them, that's a great thing. I still think this little portable for the money is probably as good as anything on the market, and it gets a lot of steam. I do keep a pressing pad on my board when I work with this iron. I do not need it when I'm working with the big one, and it's got its own little house, as you can see, is the iron kind of stores back in there, and then when I need it, I just set the little portable one out of the way and move on. The nice thing too about ironing is you can view yourself in the mirror when you iron. I had a friend visit one time and she went, well, that's very stupid to be able to see yourself. Well, I like looking at myself. There's no problem with that. I also love the ability to have my machine in a cabinet. I am lucky enough to have two of those. I have the back dropped on the smaller one, and I do a lot of my journaling and scrapbooking and things like that. I like that my machine sits in the cabinet, and I know for many of you that's not possible with your space, and I sewed on the kitchen table for many, many years. But this, if you have that luxury, this is certainly one that will benefit your work. Folks, I've traveled so much, I've never had the luxury of having indoor plants. And now I have a friend who gave me African violets, and now I am truly an old lady because I am obsessed with African violets. Aside from my machine and my iron, my next most favorite item in my sewing room would be a design wall. Now, what's on the wall, I really must tell you, I just sort of kind of staged it for you. But I want you to look at how clean that wall is. Now, I have friends who have been here who have complained about the fact that I am a pig because it's probably been well over 10 years since I've cleaned that. Now, take a look at what I got off of that wall. I used a trusty little foot brush, for those of you who haven't probably brushed your feet in a long time, and I just brushed my wall. It took about an hour. This is what's on there. This is probably 10 or 12 years of the lint from or the threads from the back of quilts. I don't know, I may have to stuff a pin cushion with this because I think this is pretty funny. I do love my cutting table because the height is good for me, and I like to work with two mats because when I open that up, which it will extend, then I can pull out the second mat, but I don't like to work on a mat with all those lines, but I love seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 when I need it. So I just slide the one mat out, and that is a big help. And then above the cutting table is just some decorative stuff. I have all of those are like little bulletin boards. So when I'm working on a quilt, I may have a block pinned up there. It's pretty much been the way you see it for months. I mean, it's not like I cleaned that up, but I did kind of cover all of my little foam core pieces and put antique frames and did a little milk paint on the frames because I love that, and I love the fact that I can, everything up there means something to me. Either it's been given to me by a friend or it's something that I personally like. So I have a lot of stuff in the sewing room. I'm a big collector of pin cushions. Now, I collect nothing anymore, folks. I'm in the getting rid of stage. But because I am lucky enough to have it all, I kind of like it out where I can see it. And this is a room that I don't mind the clutter. Oh, that's just a few of my scissors. I must say I am a scissor fanatic, but I do loads and loads of scrapbooking, journaling. I have a lot of my friends who've given me those little purses and little pieces like that. She needs a little visit to a lingerie store, doesn't she? I was with one of my friends when I bought that sign. I just love it. And I have quite a few books, folks, but I have probably pared down at least 1,000. And I'm down to maybe a few thousand, and I need to get rid of some more. So if you're hunting a particular book, let me know. I probably have it. It's kind of nice to have a little spot if I need to pull a book out. I can sit here. This is kind of my scrap basket under there, so every time I work on a quilt, anything left over goes in there, and then about once every couple of months, I'll clean that out, sort it, and we sell those bags full of fabric by the pound. So you might want to watch for that. And I love my 2 antique quilts that are there, and I just rotate magazines. I'm a big collector of the Flow magazines, and so I move those around periodically because it gives me a chance to play in them and sort through them. This isn't a quilt that was just a project quilt. It was done with home deck fabrics, and it's just nailed or tacked to the wall, and then the rest of the pictures are actually hung on the wall through it. It's a nail hole, folks. It won't be the end of the world. And this all changes periodically too. And then I even have my little coin where I save my money. One of these days I'm going to run away from home and I'll have that money to go with. Now what you're seeing on those curtains is really I used some of my fabrics and some home deck fabrics and just tore them into specific size width strips. I did most of them by tearing because I wanted the raveling. And then I cut a specific size length within an inch or two, and then just did a knot right over a decorative rod. And then with the blinds on it, if I'm in here at night, I can close the blinds, but I still have a top treatment, and I didn't want just a plain topper. And because I have these shrimpy colored walls, all the florals in there are kind of shabby chic and look really nice with my wall color, which I love. I'd paint the whole house this color, but it'd probably scare my friends. I also do a lot of journaling, especially Bible journaling, and I keep all those supplies like this in the drawers for my different pens and ink. Oh my gosh, you talk about it being collecting fabric, folks. Get into ink pens, ink tints blocks, gelatos, acrylic paints, and all that stuff, and then rubber stamping to doing the Bibles and blah, blah, and all that, and it just goes on and on. This is just a small amount of the thread I have. I have it also in other drawers, and I keep my Orville basic sewing threads and things like that I keep in their own little box. So, and I still keep a big batch of stencils. Who knows, I may get a wild hair to hand quilt one of these days. You know that's true. I'm a buttons and bead collector. When I was working on the African book, I have a lot of those. And the different beads are for, a lot of times, just we do a little jewelry making every now and then, and I use those in my scrapbooks as well. I love my colored pencils, folks. Let me just tell you, if you want to just make me happy, get me a colored pencil. And I have, these cases are fabulous, and I have another one just like it for watercolor pencils as well. These are just the standard pencils for doing the work in scrapbooking and Bible journaling. That's like behind the green door, folks. That'll take another visit to go behind the green door because that's where I throw it when I'm done. Well, thanks for visiting my sewing room today, and hopefully you got a few tips that you might try in your own space. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Now, Brian, get out of my sewing room.